Hi, thanks for joining us. I'm your host, Chris Gennaro. My co-host is Rizk, and today's guest is Black Sheep Wall. How you doing, guys?
Good. How are you doing?
Good.
Very good.
Cool. So let's just start out how we always start out and just introduce yourself and what you do in the band.
I'm Jackson. I play drums in Black Sheep Wall.
Brandon, vocalist, former bass player.
Andrew, I play guitar.
And I'm Juan, and I now play bass.
Okay. So let's just start out with that. I know Brandon, you were doing bass earlier. I guess at some point you decided that you were done with that.
Yeah, it was kind of decided for me, but I've always wanted to be a vocalist, so this kind of was a dream come true. So.
Okay, and then Juan was saying that you guys had played with his former band, and that's how you guys met.
Yeah, that's 100% correct. We went on a tour with them. The first year that I was the vocalist, with my brother playing bass in the band before he moved, and yeah, we loved the guys in Colombian Necktie.
So you mentioned that the decision was made for you. How did that go down?
We were in the process of recording "I'm Gonna Kill Myself," and initially I was playing bass and supposed to do vocals on one track, and just some inner band complications caused, just members to leave and whatnot. So Jackson asked me, "Why don't you try giving the whole album a shot?" And here I am now.
Okay, cool. So, and it's been a while since "I'm Gonna Kill Myself" came out. I have to admit, like, when I was prepping for this interview, I was like, shit, I've been listening to these guys for a while, but I don't really know jack shit about them. So I did end up going and listening to an interview that you did recently. It was pretty, like a half an hour long, I think, with Sputnik Music. So that was pretty cool. So then, that left me with not a lot of shit. I was like, shit, these guys are going to just rehash all the same shit that they were talking about. But I did learn that you guys were recording a new album. So
yeah, we've been working on it very inconsistently for 4 years, 5 years if you count the writing process. But we actually recorded the music for this album in 2016.
Oh wow!
And just finished the vocals like a month ago.
Okay. So you've had stuff that's literally been done for 3 years.
Yeah.
Okay, I mean that's got. And now, have you guys been playing that out live, or has it just been sitting collecting dust? Or
one track, the first track of the album, we've played live on the tour we did with Colombian Necktie, and just kind of tightened everything else up.
Yeah, the band itself has kind of been collecting dust for the past 3 or 4 years. So we haven't played very many shows. We are really just back into it as of like what would you guys say, 3-4 months ago?
Something like that. Yeah, maybe like June. Yeah. Probably June or July.
Okay.
So have you guys done more work on that recording, or like what is left to polish off, I guess is my question.
It's really just like the surrounding pieces. The album itself is mixed and mastered and done. We've got artwork, we're working on a music video, and it's kind of just working on getting a plan together to release it. But
Sure.
The music itself is polished and complete, and we're pretty stoked.
So cool. So it's done. So how many songs can we look forward to?
It's 7, right, guys?
Yeah, 7 tracks, about an hour worth of music.
Oh shit.
Yeah.
Because I know that one track, I Metallica, I think, and don't ask me why I remember that name. I mean, it was rather long. I think that track was like a half an hour long. Do you guys have any? Is like part of that hour like one of those super long tracks?
The last two tracks probably total about 20 minutes, 22 to 20 minutes.
Okay.
Yeah, and I think the second track on this album is our second longest song we've ever done. It's like about 13 minutes, I think, but nothing in the Metallica range. Nothing past the 15-minute mark.
And while we're on that, I guess I wanted to figure out why it was called Metallica.
Oh god, we can talk about that for like a half hour in itself. Well, lyrically there are a couple kind of Easter egg allusions, and I guess it's been long enough and I have no integrity. I'm just happy to talk about them. But like there's a line in the lyrics where the narrator calls he and his wife at the time, he calls their relationship some kind of monster, which is the silly Metallica documentary that came out.
Yeah.
But we named the song Metallica actually before we even wrote the lyrics. So it's almost like the lyrics are referencing the title rather than the other way around. And like the idea for the album in general was to write the best, like worst album ever, like super annoying and screechy and hard to get through. And like basically kind of capitalizing on what people were already saying about us, that we were boring and a waste of your time. And we're like, oh, like we'll show you what a waste of your time is. Like 30 minutes of one note is a waste of your time. And so it's a satire really. And we wanted to, for this one track that was ridiculously long, to have something that just artistically made sense while, you know, lyrically didn't necessarily, and hard to articulate in any way. And so like the way that I justify it, which really won't make any sense the more that I talk about it, but I find that often when I'm surrounded by relatives or people who don't listen to extreme music in general, they're like, what kind of music do you play? And I'm like, oh, well, we play metal. And they're like, oh, Metallica? And I'm just like, well, and I'm like, it's like Black Sabbath, but like several decades later. And then they're like, huh, okay. And then like, but what I really mean is like, no, not at all. Like not like Metallica in any sense. So like the idea is, if you're to hear this song and to compare it to Metallica in any way, like we have failed as a band. It's like the point of naming it that is to say like, do you see these are different things? Like we are not part of that in any way. So anyway, I've lost all my integrity in explaining the entire thing, but that's kind of the point.
That's cool. Yeah, it was kind of funny listening. You know, like I said, I was listening to another interview where, you know, I think somebody in your band said that your album was shitty, and I was like, well, that's the first time I've ever heard somebody describe their own album that way. You know, but you did say that the new album is going to be different than I'm Gonna Kill Myself. And that I think the vocals that you mentioned, you know, I think one of you guys said that maybe the I Am God songs was maybe a little bit more Cookie Monster. I mean, I know that's a different singer, but that you were that Brandon was going to change things up a little bit more than what he had been doing on the last EP. Yes.
Yeah, 100%. I think I took a lot of influence, especially from growing up with the singer of my other band, Admiral Angry, Chris Lindblad, and just he had like this real like ear-piercing screech of a voice, and I just really have always admired that, and then like wanted to emulate that to the best of my ability, unsuccessfully, I would say. But I think on the new album, especially, just over the years and actually I had probably a week to 2 weeks to maybe a month of preparation for like preparing my vocals for I'm Gonna Kill Myself. And I think with this one, having that about 4-year break between recording the music and recording it, the vocals now, if we had finished it back when the music was recorded, it would have sounded more like I'm Gonna Kill Myself. But I just took that time to basically find my own voice, refine what I'm doing, better technique, experiment with going lower, experiment with, you know, just giving myself a little bit more range.
I would say a lot more range. Like I think Brandon's voice is like one of the strongest parts of the album, and like the screechiness worked a lot on our previous albums, especially because the album is intentionally kind of a joke. Not that Brandon's vocals were at all, but just like this, you know, piercing thing over the low sounds. And this time, I think the sense of humor in our music is maybe less than ever before, but the range of Brandon's voice and the music in general is the most pervasive.
Okay. And then, so the album cover, obviously, I mean, it seems to be, for the I'm Gonna Kill Myself, seems to be diametrically opposed, the artwork to the title. I mean, not to state the obvious, but so how did that come about?
Well, I was always a huge fan of the album art for Buster, which by Admiral Angry, which is Brandon's other band. And I don't know if you're familiar with that cover, but it's like all bright colors and it's got this little bunny rabbit right in the middle. And like you would think, I don't know, Brandon, what kind of music does it look like to you? Like almost like techno pop music?
I never knew what kind of music it looked like, but it definitely does not look like what you're about to hear.
Yeah, and so it adds like a new level of personality to the music itself. And so we were looking for something that did that. And so we had, you know, that conversation with our artist, Jeff Rogers. He's done the album art on all of our releases except for I Am God songs. He's done our new one as well. And he came up with the idea. And he was just like, how about we do like 2 Muppet type figures and one's talking to the other one, and we're like, yeah, go for it. And yeah, we love it. We had a fan recently that he and his wife, and actually I think it might have actually been his wife, and she's a fan as well, but he's the one who communicated it to me. She made like little like what would you call them? Like stuffed animals, I guess, of the character.
Yeah, they're like knitted. Yeah, they're like knitted stuffed animals for sure.
Yeah, and so that was really cool. That was like very humbling and neat that these characters had come to life in a different way.
It is pretty cool. It's like one of a kind too, right?
Yeah, it was really neat.
Cool. You have a picture of that up on your Facebook page or something like that?
Yeah, we do.
Okay,
Yeah.
I'll have to go check.
We have one of the animals. They've sent other ones of different props they've added to it, but yeah.
Yeah, I think the next step is like a full-on costume, right? Like a not like a war type of thing, but you know, something like that.
That would be amazing.
Yeah, I was gonna say HR Puff and stuff, I think is the other thing that it kind of a little bit. Those who are old enough. So let's talk about I Am God songs, because that you just re-released that on Silent Pendulum Records.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So that I mean that had been a while. How did that come about? Because I guess it went. What was the original? Was there an original pressing for that?
No, the only vinyl.
Not of a vinyl, just of a CD.
Okay.
Yeah.
So this is basically the first time on vinyl.
Yes.
Are they doing a CD as well for it?
No, they're just doing vinyl, and we sold out of the count we had made, and then I think there was like 30 overpress that I think he has for sale right now. Andrew, is that right?
Yeah, I think there's only. I mean, as of like, I don't know, 4 or 5 days ago, I think there was only 2 left. I don't know where it's at now, but we may have sold out the overpress too.
Sweet.
Cool. So I know there's no shows going on right now, but do you guys mix those songs into your set at all?
Oh man, we honestly
We've always kept the
sorry,
I Am God songs into the set.
Yeah, I was just gonna say we haven't actually even like played as a full band other than our music video, which we just did in a few years, I think. Like, so the idea of our set is kind of hard to say with honesty. I can't even think of what it would be in my head.
Okay, but obviously, I mean, you got Juan in the band now, so I assume that the idea is when all this Corona shit is done, that you guys will go out and play again.
Yes, that's the plan.
That is the plan.
Yeah.
I mean, are you guys in a position where you could do a tour or something like, or, you could come out? Because we're on the East Coast. So I specifically am asking if you are ever going to come to the East Coast, but I'm sure there's people all over that would be interested to know when you might, be playing around.
We certainly would love to. Go ahead, Brandon.
I would say we've talked about a couple of options and things we'd like to do, but haven't really hammered out the specifics, mainly with the uncertainty of everything going on. But I would say at least a group chat that we've talked about other opportunities in terms of touring to some extent.
Okay, so it's in the cards.
We're all kind of our work schedules are part of it. I'm an elementary school teacher. I don't feel comfortable leaving at all mid-year, so
yeah,
it would be over the summer. But Juan has a van, which is huge. I think Juan, you would be the guy to talk about how we've traveled in the past, because you find it the funniest.
Yeah, I do find it still pretty funny. So I asked these guys to go on tour, and they're like, okay, cool. Like, can we use gear? And I'm like, oh yeah, absolutely. You can use gear. So these guys show up at the first day of tour in a, what is it again, Jackson?
It's a Prius. Yeah.
It is a Prius. Now, at that time, they had Brandon's brother, who's Jason, and he's very tall. So is Brandon. And so it was kind of like watching people come out of a clown car, because it was like 5 grown individuals, and they're doing this whole stretch. Like, I mean, we went from, I think at one point we did like a 9-hour drive from, I think it was New Mexico to Oklahoma. And it was just, honestly, it was amazing to see them do that whole tour in that car. It was absolutely incredible.
That's funny.
So you took a car and a van then?
Yeah.
Yeah, but none of us were in the van. And
just the equipment's in the van, yeah.
And Andrew and Brandon and I actually all did worse in the Prius once. It was only one show, but we went up to Salt Lake City from LA, which, how long is that drive? Like what, like 10?
Yeah,
about 10 or 11, something.
Yeah.
Like that.
But we did 5 members with guitars with some drum equipment in that same Prius.
Whoa.
And we did lose the guitar on that trip. And I think the air conditioning broke too. It was crazy.
Yes.
Yeah. So we paid our dues. Your question was when we're gonna go out there and tour, and like, it's like we don't know, but we would
still have the Prius.
I do still have the Prius. I'm gonna drive this thing until the wheels fall off, man. Like, everyone's always asking me, when are you gonna get a new car? Everybody tells me it smells. There's like a bumper hanging off in the front. The air conditioning doesn't work. It's like can't figure out if it's playing my phone or the CD in the CD player. But I'm driving it until the wheels fall off. Yeah, love it.
That's cool. One other thing I was gonna ask about is the piano piece. I'm Angelic Exorcism, I think, if I got my notes right. Who played the piano on that, and how did that come about?
I played the piano on that. I don't know really where to begin. My parents kind of forced me to take piano lessons when I was 5 until I was 10. I hated every second of it. I would always tell them I don't want to play the piano, and they would say, you'll appreciate it someday. And I got into drums later when I was about 12, and then I went to school as a music major, and I had to take 4 semesters of piano. And I kind of picked it up again. Was never super good at it, just like could play scales and chords and stuff. And like long hours in these practice rooms trying to play, these Beethoven pieces I was assigned or whatever. I would just write these kind of sad songs and then just play them over and over. And I found I was spending more time doing that than I was actually practicing the things that I was supposed to. And then I just kind of, I came up with that piece, and I played it a little differently every time. You know, the song has no real tempo or timing. It's very loose overall. And I just approached the guys and see if they dug it. And they were like, yeah, I mean, we could put it on this 3-song EP, and it's a lot of melody anyway, so it might fit. And we recorded that at my parents' house on the exact piano I learned on when I was 5. And that actually kind of was like a spark for me to play piano a lot more after that. And so I've really picked it up a lot since then. I've never been good at the piano. I never will be, but I really love it. So
cool.
Yeah.
I see a keyboard in the background there.
Yeah, that's where I practice.
Cool.
Scott wasn't able to make it, but Jackson, I know you knew Scott since kindergarten.
Yes.
So you know, in kindergarten, you were like, yeah, you like metal, I like metal too.
Actually, like not so much like that. Like Scott was much cooler than me. I was very like innocent. Like I had my juice box and like my shoes were tied, and that was that. And Scott was, I wouldn't say a troublemaker, but very funny, very charismatic, as we all know him to be. And Scott and I became close in middle school when kind of friends of friends, we started playing music together. And so we were kind of part of the same circle. And then that's kind of when we bonded and formed our music partnership that hasn't left us since, I think it's been since like 6th grade, I think. And Brandon was a part of that as well, beginning in about 9th grade. And so we've been kind of the three amigos ever since.
Cool, because I think you guys were also in another band, Noriega.
That was Andrew and Brandon and I.
Okay.
Andrew can talk about that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So what kind, like, how did that figure into the whole Black Sheep Wall thing?
So I met Jackson actually when we started going to college at Cal State Northridge. And at that point, coming out of high school, I didn't know anyone that listened to any kind of heavy music. When I met Jackson, he had, I think it was an Ion Dissonance sweatshirt. And I was like, holy shit, we got to be friends. Like, you probably listen to great music. And we just hit it off and found out he played drums. And we're like, we should try to jam. And then it just kind of turned into that.
Cool. Yeah, you mentioned seeing his T-shirt. I was going to ask you about your influences. I know I've seen you mention some things, and it's funny. I was just saying before that, like, sometimes when I see people's influences, I'm like, yeah, no, okay, now it makes sense why, like, you guys speak to me, because you listen to a lot of other shit that also I'm real into, because I'm a big Will Haven fan. So I guess let's talk about some of your other influences, just for people who don't know that stuff.
Brandon, I think you should start. I think your influences are the most in line with what's actually our band.
Well, I mean, as far as like music goes and writing, especially when we were starting off, like Will Haven was a huge influence, at least like instrumentation wise, for a long time. I think still is to a degree. Meshuggah, anything that was kind of like that one note, just heavy, sludgy kind of feel. If I were to go influences now, I mean, obviously it's more vocal related. There's an artist by the name of Rainer Lanfermand, who I have been obsessed with since probably I was still in high school. I've always found his vocals to be like very pain and despair oriented. Just kind of sounds like someone dying on the audio file. He was a singer for Bethlehem for like a hot minute, one album, and that to me is like, when I heard those for the first time, I was just like, I want to do that. Like, that's what I want to do. Particularly on like the Gummo soundtrack, he has 2 tracks on there, and that was just a huge influence on me.
Cool. Do you guys still talk to Jeff or what
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah, Jeff and Trey both are featured on our new album, actually. So.
Okay, I was gonna ask, like, is there any room for them to maybe come back and do something? I know some people, when they split up, it's like an X, and it's like no, but then other people remain friends and everything.
Yeah, no, we're still close with them. Still, absolutely our homies. And yeah, they're both on the same song, and so there's like almost like a rap battle thing happening. It's pretty neat. So
okay, that had to have been like kind of surreal to record then, right? I mean, because like I've been in bands, and then sometimes when two people who were never played together sort of meet, you almost feel like the universe is caving into each other because it's not right, but
Juan, why don't you talk about that? I like
it kind of worked in this sense.
Oh, sorry.
I think Brandon's cutting out a little bit here and there.
Juan,
yeah, I would just.
Oh, we keep interrupting each other. I'm sorry.
Juan, go.
It was for me. It was exciting because I'm honestly a fan of Black Sheep Wall. So I've been listening. I think since Trey was singing, and then through that I like got to listen to what Jeff was doing, and throughout the years, like listening to all the variety of vocals that the band has had, to see it all come to life on one track was completely surreal. And they also had Garrett, who was the first guitarist, right?
Not first guitar player, but he did play guitar on No Matter Where It Ends, and he was our guitar player.
He's our second guitarist.
Yeah.
Okay, there you go. And he contributed too, and he's also the vocalist of Brennan's other band. And honestly, it was really dope. It was really cool to see as a fan.
That was neat.
Yeah, but at the same time, it wasn't a little unprecedented because It Begins Again both features Trey and Jeff, so they're used to. I shouldn't say used to, but they have worked together in the past on a track together, and actually multiple tracks. So I mean, we're all friends, so like it's like a family almost. Like we're all very comfortable with each other and enjoy working with each other, and I think it came together really well, better than we thought it was going to.
Mm-hmm.
Really,
I was going to ask about the It Begins Again, because it seemed like that the title to that EP was sort of an answer to No Matter Where It Ends. Like, was that purposely done as sort of like a continuity thing?
Yeah, that is completely intentional. Yeah.
Okay. And then what label is the new record going to be on? If I assume you figured that out yet, or no?
Yeah, it's going to be on Silent Pendulum as well, the label that just did the re-release of I Am God songs. And I don't know, Andrew, if you could say more about that. Michael is an awesome guy. I'm stoked to work with him.
Yeah, so I met Mike. So he's the drummer of several bands like Downfall of Gaia and Number 12 Looks Like You. So I met him at a Number 12 show and just started talking to him. We hit it off, and we had a mutual friend in common. So I was, he's asking, oh, how do you know Chris? And I was like, oh, he's a friend of the band that I play in. It's like, oh, what's your band called? So I tell him, oh, it's Black Sheep Wall, and he's like, whoa, no way, like that's super cool. So we started talking, and we were basically talking like every week, and then he was like, hey, I don't know if you guys would be interested in doing a pressing of I Am God songs, but I'd really love, like, I'd be honored to do that for you guys and get all of that started. So that's kind of what got the ball rolling. And then I don't know if it was that got us to, like, I mean, we were already talking about going back into the studio to record all the vocals for this, but it almost just made sense to do this new album with him as well. And yeah, he's been a really great friend, a tremendous help through all of this. And yeah, we're really excited to, release this with them.
Yeah, I think one of you guys said, like, you know, when asked how it came about, you said it was just a great opportunity. It's kind of funny that a chance encounter would have sparked all that. I'm kind of surprised that, you know, some other labels hadn't been hitting you up before that.
Other labels might be wiser than mine. I say that I say that somewhat facetiously, but no. He honestly, it feels very organic with him, which we really like. You know, the business and art together is a very awkward marriage. And with him, it just feels natural. Like, you know, the things that he likes make sense to us and vice versa. And so, yeah, it's working out great so far.
So does he ever have any input besides, you know, just being encouraging?
I think he'll suggest, like, you should press in this color or something like that, or, you know, this seems to be selling well. But they're like, we, not at all an argument, but we had like the slightest disagreement the other week. Like, he was like, I think you should do this. And we were like, no, I think this. And he was like, okay, for sure. Like, it was like no issue at all.
What other kind of stuff are you into besides, you know, the music and the metal stuff? Like, is there any other interesting, weird crap you're into?
In general,
that you're willing to admit to, that is.
In general, most of us are really into movies. I love movies, and yeah, Brandon and I and Juan especially talk about them a lot. And Andrew is always a good sport about it, and he has good taste as well. And Andrew brews.
Oh no, I game a lot,
and he's really good at it. I don't know, Andrew.
He brews. Wait, what?
Yeah.
So yeah, was homebrewing beer for a handful of years, and now I professionally distill spirits. So I've done whiskey, rum at one place in Los Angeles, and then moved to San Diego maybe 6.5 months ago or so. And now I'm doing vodka, gin, and canned cocktails. And that's probably my biggest passion aside from music. Those are the two things that I love to do.
That's nice. Cool.
Yeah.
So you actually can cocktails. That's like a new trend. I've seen that. Everything's just.
Yeah. It's blowing up. And I mean, oddly enough too, with like everything with COVID, you know, most people being at home, if anything, I feel very fortunate, but if anything, it's really boosted business because everyone's getting these canned cocktails. They can't really go to bars to do that, so they can do it at home. So it's been, I don't know, it doesn't feel like work. It's, you know, it's a lot of fun for me. It's another way of being creative in the same way that I like being creative with music. So yeah, I love it.
Did you teach yourself that, or did you study it somewhere?
Yeah, taught myself.
Oh, wow.
A lot of trial and error and reading online.
Kudos, definitely. That's cool.
So are you like actually doing that professionally now? I mean, you clearly, you've mentioned you're doing it enough to keep doing it and do a lot of it, but, you know, are you able to like do it now professionally?
Yeah, I've been doing it professionally for going on 3 years now.
Okay. That must have been awesome to leave whatever job you left and just be like, I'm just gonna.
Yeah, it was interesting. I don't know, when I was doing it there, I loved what I was doing there, but I always felt like it was kind of a niche thing. So it was really cool to have them. The company I work for right now actually reached out to me. But yeah, I mean, it was a good feeling. It was hard to leave, but at the same time, you know, it's a new experience doing something different with these guys and kind of broadening my expertise and things.
Yeah, what were you drinking before, Eric? You shamed me because I didn't know the name of it.
I was an IPA, and you're like, what? Should I know that? I was like, it's a style of beer. It's very popular. It was a local brewery here, Three's Brewery. It was an IPA from them. Yeah.
Oh, right on.
But no, that's interesting. I like spirits too, but yeah, that's a different world of brewing and distilling and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe what are we doing on time? I think we got a little bit here. If you guys still want to keep on with this,
yeah, of course.
You know, it's been obviously it's been a while since you were in the studio. Maybe we can talk a little bit about like your writing process. Obviously you guys tuned down super low, right? I mean, so maybe just talk a little bit about your writing process for the songs.
It typically starts with a riff from Scott. So Scott will show up to practice with a riff, and sometimes it's I wouldn't call it methodical, but like he's been sitting on it for a few weeks or days or something. He's like, I got to show you. Other times it's literally like he plugs in his amp and like, and we're like, oh, that sounds cool, and then we play to it, and then it becomes a song. Typically I am like the most annoying person in the writing process because I'm always wanting to make things more complicated. You see Brandon doing this right now, and then Andrew is usually all about that and like really with me making it complicated, and then Brandon is usually like reasonable and like, well, is that even necessary? Like, can you even notice it? Like, are we gonna do this for no, like, are we going to just like make this really complicated for the sake of doing it? And then I'm like, okay, fine. And then I don't know, like it goes through enough chewing to make that happen. Then eventually it comes out as some version of a song. We'll record it on an iPhone or something, listen to it enough times, and then say we don't like certain parts. I would say like, and I was thinking about this the other day, it's kind of interesting. Like I would say maybe over half of the songs we've written as a band, we've never recorded, we've forgotten, we've never released. Like, Brandon, would you agree, like, in the long
I will 100% agree.
there are a ton of songs that
good stuff, too.
Yeah, no, at some point we've been super stoked on, like, man, this is good, this is, like, our next favorite song, and then we just never play it again. Like, and we never record it, and nothing happens of it, and I'm not even sure exactly why. Like, it just doesn't. Go ahead.
Our inconsistent schedule, sometimes like 2 or 3 months go by. This is especially during like the heavy writing processes, and you just be like, "Oh, do you remember that riff from last time?" No, it's gone. Like it's just gone.
Did you guys have like a stack? Like I know me from being in bands. Like I still have a stack of tapes. I mean, sadly, mine are like from 1995 and all, but I assume that somewhere you guys got a stack of tapes that you might or might not sometime ever get back to or listen to again. I mean, you're probably digital now. Now you're saying you're on an iPhone. You're like,
for a while we were using like those Tascam recorder things. They're like really easy interfaces.
Portable ones, yep.
Yeah, we were using those for a while. We weren't super great about staying on top of that either, though.
Well, no one wants to go back and listen to all the starts and stops to figure out what is actually the song, what is actually the riff. You task someone to do it. It's like, yeah, I'll get it done by next practice. Show up. Did you do that? No.
But one thing we're leaving out is part of the reason we don't go back to it is because we're rarely completely uninspired. So like the idea kind of is like, if we don't have that, we always have like another idea and we will just play with that instead. So we're always distracted by something, and there's always a reason to not go back to whatever we were jamming 3 or 4 months ago that we forgot about. So yeah, it just has to become what it is. But I will say, I just gave Scott a ton of writing credit, as he deserves. He, I would say, is the main songwriter of our band. But Andrew did write my favorite riff on our new record. That is like an awesome blend of like, I don't want to call it post-metal because I hate that term, but it kind of is post-metal with like a more Black Sheep Wall feel that I'm really, really stoked on.
Cool.
Really ambient, lots of delay. I can like zone out on it for hours.
Yeah.
Because I feel like also that the sludge metal scene, it was not that big in the 90s. I mean, I certainly remember it because I was into bands like I Hate God and ISIS and stuff like that. But definitely the doom metal, I think, has made that become more popular now. And I think that they're almost like some of the doom bands are a gateway to even some of the sludgier stuff. So do you feel like that you're going to benefit from that type of resurgence in that scene?
Well, I honestly, I don't feel like informed enough. Like, I think if I was to answer that question, I would just be making up as I go. Like, I'm not even sure how to like really classify between sludge and doom and whatnot. I do think there's a resurgence happening in heavy music right now. Brandon and I had a running joke for several months, like, who do you think's going to come back next? And we were taking bets on like everything between Genghis Khan to Throwdown to Backstreet Boys. And like a lot of those we nailed. And so we would send each other like celebratory texts when they would say where they're coming back with the record. And so I don't want to be grouped in with that, because I think that, you know, not to speak poorly on any bands, you know, everyone has their reasons, but I think a lot of bands are just kind of capitalizing on that moment. And I don't think that's the case for us. You know, we've been sitting on these songs for 4 years, and this was just the time that we could finish it. Mm-hmm. So anyway, to answer how it would help us or hurt us, I'm not really sure, but I do have like a feeling at least that the timing is right. And so I feel good about that.
Yeah. And I wasn't trying to imply that you were coming back to capitalize. It was,
oh, no, I know.
It was more like that scene should embrace you guys. You know what I'm saying?
I hope. Yeah.
Yeah, I hope too. We've changed a little bit in terms of style, so I don't know how much it will benefit us, but it will definitely pique some interest.
And who, you know, and this is a question we usually ask the bands, you know, just who did you guys like playing with when you were playing a lot of shows? And, you know, besides Columbia Necktie, like who else were your buddies?
We were buddies with Bone Dance, who a lot of those members are now in a band called Throws from Boise, Idaho. They're a great band. Sorry, I'm blanking. Guys, can you think of other bands?
I know in LA.
I mean, we had a great time.
Oh, go ahead.
No, you go.
I was going to say in LA, I know there was those guys like Wovoka. We played a handful of shows with them. They were really cool guys. And I'm trying, I think it was Kyle's band, Skin Slip. That was another one that we'd play with from time to time. Those are the two that come to my mind, at least, as far as like LA local.
Yeah, 10 years ago-ish, Don the Reader took us on our first tour.
That's what I was going to say.
Kind and inviting to us. A Life Once Lost took us on a US tour, and that was really cool. And, you know, they were heroes of ours, so that was like really neat to hang out with them every day and stuff. That's all. I'm gonna feel bad later because I'm sure I'm forgetting tons of bands, but that's who's coming to mind right now.
No problem. Because usually I like to put links and crap in the description so that people can follow along, and you know, and I think part of the fun of doing this is sort of checking out new bands. Mm-hmm. You know, so definitely check out the links that I will leave in the description, and if I can't find any one of those bands, I'll hit you up, and hopefully you can help me out with a link or something like that. Cool. Eric, you got anything? I'm
got nothing else.
I'm really. Sort of getting at the end of my notes here.
I guess anything else you want to promote or side projects or anything else?
You go first, Brandon.
I play another band called Rosdower after the Mystery Science Theater Final Sacrifice joke, which I have a lot of fun in. Garrett, who does vocals on one of the tracks with Jeff and Trey, is a part of that. And I'll just throw out there that there's this band I really dig called Remote Viewing. They're from the UK and just fucking kill it as far as heavy music goes.
All right, cool.
Juan and I play in another band together called Benoit. It's kind of turned into progressive hardcore. It used to be a little more straightforward, but Benoit's been around for several years, and we kind of came back just a couple of years ago, and we're in the middle of writing a record right now as well. So that's exciting. And Juan also plays in another band.
I do. I play in a band called Black Cock. We are finishing up a record and hopefully out next year at some point.
It was so great to get a smile out of that because I first looked at Eric and he was like, "Yep, that's a totally normal name." And then I look over at Chris. He's like, "Wait a minute."
No, yeah, I don't know how to follow up Black Cock. I just
Whatever you do, just don't Google it.
yeah.
Google it. That'd be hard to search for the band name. That band at the end.
It was actually really funny. A couple nights ago, I decided, I was like, you know what? Let me see if it shows up Black Cock Hardcore, right? And to be honest with you, it was the only search term that we actually showed up within the first 4 things.
Oh,
but
weird.
every other thing was hardcore porn. So it was just like.
And does that surprise you or?
Not at all.
Yeah, band names are always weird because the other one I always remember was just running around telling people that Fudge Tunnel was awesome.
Oh yeah.
You know, and before it became cool and you would just be like, "Oh, dude, you got to listen to Fudge Tunnel," and they'd be like, "What?" And so, yeah, the band names. Yeah. Speaking of which, actually, I guess I'm not really sure what Black Sheep Wall means.
It's a reference to a code in the original StarCraft PC game. It would reveal the whole map. Scott and myself were big fans of that game. And actually, the guitar player for Admiral Angry was a huge fan of that game as well. And he talked about naming an Admiral song after it. And I asked him, well, I'm playing in this other band, and I think it's kind of too good of a name to just waste on a song. Can we use it as a band name? And he gave us the blessing since he thought of it, and it stuck.
So I'm sorry. So it's a passcode to see a map in a video game?
A cheat code. Yeah,
code.
in a video game, particularly StarCraft. Yeah.
Okay. So probably just 3 random words.
I'm sure it's an inside joke with the developers over at Blizzard, but for us, it means it became our own thing.
Yeah, I mean that's sort of interesting. I you know, you wonder if one day you're going to find out like what the inside joke is, you know. It's going to be something super bizarre.
Quite possibly.
Anyway, I guess we're getting at time-ish. So I just wanted to, you know, thank you guys for coming on the show. Really appreciate it. You know, it's funny. I didn't even know that you were working on a new album when I got in touch with you. So I'm like super excited that we got to hear all about that, and I'm super stoked to hear your new stuff, your old stuff that's coming out new.
Thank you. It's been such a pleasure. We really appreciate you having us on, and thanks so much. It's been a great time.
Cool.
Yeah, thanks, man.
Yeah, thanks, man.
Okay, cool. And then yeah, whenever you know the stuff comes out, I can add links to the description, and you know I'll post about it whenever I can when the stuff comes out. So you know I'm hooked up with you guys on social media, so I'm sure I'll see it. And then that's it. I again appreciate you coming, and thanks a lot for coming on the show.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Thanks, Chris.
Okay, bye.
Thank you.
Bye.